As the movie begins, we see Seok-woo, a military doctor, unappreciated by his family. In the living room, his parents and his sister are having dinner. Reluctant to join them, Seok-woo watches as they eat until his mother gives him a list of chores for the next day. In the morning, he gets started on the chores his mother had written down for him, starting from taking out the trash. While cleaning, he finds decaying food in the house and is disgusted by the sight. Once he makes sure everything is taken care of, he takes all the waste and dumps it in the garbage can in the alley. The next day, Seok-woo goes out with Kim Yoo-min to get a bite to eat. While eating the complimentary beef liver the chef had sent over, Seok-woo finds an apple peel mixed in with the meat. Not paying much attention to the situation, he throws the peel away and continues eating. Later, the two head out of the park and spend some time making out and talking. Suddenly, thugs sitting around the park throw an empty water bottle at Seok-woo's head, which makes him really angry. When he confronts them, the two men beat him up until he starts to spit blood. As Seok-woo kneels on his hand and legs, a hot flash of anger consumes him and he gets the energy to fight back and beats up the men that hurt him. Seok-woo wins the fight, but his new aggressive behavior drives Kim Yoo-min away, and she runs away before he had the chance to explain what happened. As she's going home, Kim Yoo-min feels ill and starts to sweat heavily. She coughs aggressively on the bus, which makes the other passengers weary. And everywhere in the city, people start to get sick and exhibit violent behavior. Seok-woo gets a call from his friend and is invited to a club to meet other girls. When he gets there, Seok-woo is overwhelmed by the anger, urging him to beat up people and starts a fight with a stranger. The next day, news all over the country starts broadcasting the recent virus that's plagued the city. This strange virus that's able to mutate in just a day had citizens worried and fearful for their lives. People infected with the virus start to exhibit violent behavior and in the latent stages begin to eat human flesh. Back at his house, Seok-woo destroys every item in a fit of rage. And after being trapped for days, Seok-woo is surprised by his family who returned after their vacation abroad. When they open the door, the house is covered in darkness and Seok-woo stands there just staring at them. Suddenly, Seok-woo charges toward his family and attacks his parents, killing both of them with a bite to the neck. Finding the door open, Seok-woo heads out of the house, and the city has now become infested with sick people and the government is unable to control the spread. The media continues to urge civilians to stay indoors and avoid infected people by all means. Out on the street, Seok-woo finds Kim Yoo-min, who was now also sick, and the two zombies stare at each other as if they're sharing a moment, and Kim Yoo-min picks up a rotting apple from the ground and gives it to Seok-woo, who takes a bite out of it. The scene changes and we see Park Do-wan, a young robot repair technician, walking into a temple. At the door, he's greeted by one of the monks who explains that the robot assistant helps them focus on their practices while it does all the work. Park Do-wan asks the monk what kind of task the defective robot does, and the monk explains that the robot gives general information but doesn't think Park Do-wan should call it defective. Confused, Park Do-wan asks whether the robot thinks on its own instead of using the input data, which the monk confirms. He also tells the young repairman that the robot has attained enlightenment and that they've all heard his teachings. Park Do-wan finds the robot praying in the common area and starts his checkup. After running the diagnostic, Park Do-wan is curious to find that all of its systems were running perfectly, and the robot asks the man why his company has sent a repair specialist when they didn't even request for one. Park Do-wan explains that a specialist must check in on the troublesome robot before anyone else is sent. When the robot pushes for an explanation, Park Do-wan gets angry, unable to believe the monk's claim that the robot was actually the Buddha. He yells at the monk, telling him that the job was to fix a faulty system, not to confirm the words of the robot. The monk apologizes for offending Park Do-wan by bringing him there under false pretenses, thinking that he would have a positive outlook if he saw the robot himself. Park Do-wan tells the monk that he will file a recall as per protocol, which is all that he is able to do since this is above his pay grade, then leaves the temple. That night, Park Do-wan is woken up by a loud knock on his door. When he asks who it was, a woman responds, asking him if she had the right house for the repairman. Showing him a small robot dog, the girl explains that her pet suddenly stopped working and she wanted him to fix it. Although Park Do-wan explains that she would have to take it to a pet repair shop, the woman refuses to listen and begs him to help her. When she starts to cry, Park Do-won feels bad and gives her a chip from his own stash, telling her that the fix was temporary because he doesn't have the right equipment. After he gives her a card for the best biochip store in the city, the girl thanks him for his service and leaves. In the morning, Park Do-won watches the news, which was announcing that more and more people are opting for robot mates instead of getting married. Suddenly, Park Do-won gets a call from his boss, who asks him why he hasn't submitted the report on the temple robot. He apologizes for the late response and explains that he hasn't decided if the robot was defective yet. The woman on the other line is angry and tells him to promptly submit the report. The following day, he arrives with UR Chairman Kang and Research Executive Min, as well as their team, to decommission the temple's robot, explaining that it was an old series. After taking a look at the robot, Chairman Kang asks Min where the series was from, and she explains that it's a model made in 2017. Angry, Kang asks the woman why it hasn't already been replaced, and apologizing for her mistake, Min tells the man that they would be replacing it immediately. The head monk interjects and tells them that they were already satisfied with the services that the robot gives and don't want it to be replaced. And Chairman Kang explains to the crowd of monks that he had flown there as soon as he got the report of the robot, who thought it was the Buddha. He goes on to say that such defects could become a threat to the entire human race, and he also tells them that it's crucial for robots to only remain utilizing their basic arithmetic functions instead of actually evolving, which is why the models need to be replaced constantly. The chairman then calls for the robot to come forward and explain to the monks that the robot series was a failure and that they had decided to destroy all the RU models around the world. The chairman then opens a video of a recording that he had the master monk making, explaining how worrisome a robot reaching enlightenment was. He tells them that these machines are not made with the same qualities as man and therefore cannot reach the same heights. The man addresses the robot, telling it that what it was doing would push men away from the right path, and asks it to stop what it was doing before the video ends. Once Chairman Kang makes a point about the defectiveness of the machine, he orders his team to carry out the process of dismantling the robot. Then suddenly, Park Do-won intervenes and begs the chairman to give him some time to run further diagnostics, but Kang refuses to listen. Chairman Kang tells the robot that if it doesn't obey every order, he would be forced to open fire. When the robot refuses to accept the terms, Kang orders his team to shoot it down, but Park Do-won gets in the way and begs them to stop. When the guards start beating up Park Do-won for trying to protect the machine, the robot protects him, hitting the men and sending them flying across the room. After telling the rest of the men to stand down, the robot explains his wishes, that he doesn't want to create conflict anymore, and decides to terminate himself. As he kneels in front of the Buddha altar, the robot shuts down its systems and stops becoming operational. The monks look at their departed friend with tears in their eyes, saddened by the sudden act. The head monk declares that the robot had finally entered nirvana, and that night, a traumatized Park Do-won gets home and finds the dog that he fixed for the stranger in the garbage can outside his house and takes it inside. At his work desk, he takes the dog's operating system apart and then makes a small incision on his arm, removing a small chip. Once he puts the chip inside the robot dog, he starts to function normally. In the end, we see writing on the dark screen that says the heavenly creature. The scene changes yet again to a young Park Min-soo hiding in a bedroom and secretly trying to order her father's 8-ball that she had broken. Suddenly, she hears her father's voice asking her mom if she'd seen the 8-ball and starts to panic. Her father walks into the room and asks her what she was doing on her uncle's computer, and she tells him that she was doing some research for school before heading out. 2 years later, a broadcast announces to the public that a massive asteroid was heading toward Earth with a really high velocity. Different governments had tried to destroy the asteroid using different techniques, but all were unsuccessful. Park Min-soo's family decides to hide out in a bunker to avoid the impact after filling up with supplies that they would need for months, and while setting up the bunker, Kwon, Park Min-soo's nerdy uncle, comments to his brother that he would have opened a pool hall with the money that he got after selling their father's store. His brother responds that people shouldn't turn what they love most into a means to get money. As they watch the news, they realize that the world has descended into chaos as people desperately try to find a way to survive. Different organizations were starting to sell small pods people can hide in to survive the impact. Down in the bunker, Park Min-soo sees the image of the meteorite headed toward Earth and starts to scream, making the family gather around her. The satellite image confirmed that the meteorite looked exactly exactly like an 8-ball Park Min-soo had ordered 2 years ago. Realizing what she had done, she confesses to her family that the end of the world might be her fault. Her parents think Park Min-soo is scared and confused, making up the story to feel better. Upset, Park Min-soo tells her parents that she ordered the ball the day her uncle Hwan looked and saw a UFO spaceship. Realizing that she doesn't have the belief of her parents, Park Min-soo stares at the news, trying to think of a way to reverse the order. Giving up, Park Min-soo decides to head outside for a bit to get some air, and inside the bunker, Hwan tells his brother and his wife that they shouldn't ignore their daughter's words because there are strange things happening in the world all the time. Outside, Park Min-soo notices a huge shadow of the meteor getting closer. She hurries back inside and opens the TV, which informs them that due to the sudden acceleration of the meteorite's speed, they only had 20 minutes to live. The family sits together as they watch the anchor people lose their calm on TV and laugh. Suddenly, the lights in the bunker go out and they're left sitting there in the darkness. Hwan asks if there could be a way to cancel or return the order for the 8-ball, and with only 9 minutes left until impact, Hwan gets on the computer and tries to change his niece's order. Park Min-soo accidentally touches one of the symbols on the computer, which accelerates the speed of the 8-ball even more. Realizing that there was nothing that they could do, Park Min-soo says goodbye to her family, telling them that she never meant to cause the end of the world. The family hugs and waits for the meteor to hit the Earth, and when the impact happens, the ball destroys the entire country, leaving nothing alive. 10 years later, Park Min-soo and her family emerge from their shelter, seeing their son for the first time in years. By the door of their shelter, Park Min-soo encounters an alien who shows her the number that she had used to order the 8-ball. Once it had completed its mission of confirmation, the alien enters the spaceship that it arrived in and flies away, leaving Park Min-soo and her family to notice the barren lands of their once vibrant city. And the movie comes to an end as they're happy to be alive and together, and the family leaves the shelter for good, starting their lives all over again. If you want to watch more creepy horror movie recaps, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment. We'll see you next time. Bye.